Hello everyone. As you know that we are in the second week of this massive open online course on philosophical foundations of social research. In the first week, we have already discussed history of philosophy of social sciences, how philosophy in its pre-19th century incarnation was divided into two parts, namely natural philosophy and social and moral philosophy, and how by integrating natural philosophy with social and moral philosophy we tend to arrive at modern philosophy of science. Within that we have discussed empiricism and rationalism. Auguste Comte, the founder of the discipline sociology, and his law of three stages, namely the metaphysical, namely the theological stage, the metaphysical stage, and the positivistic or scientific stage. And then we have discussed epistemology and ontology, how epistemology and ontology must be interrelated, okay. And now in the second week, comprising 3 lectures, we are going to discuss Emile Durkheim, rules of sociological method, influence of sciences on sociology, objectivity in social sciences, social facts and the autonomy of knowledge, autonomy of sociology as a science, and the necessity of science, common sense and science, comparative social sciences, organic analogy and precursor to functionalism, and so on. We will discuss these in the context of Durkheim's rules of sociological method 1, Durkheim's reflection on or contribution to sociology of knowledge, and Durkheim's philosophy of religion. I mean, why I want to reflect on these, okay, precisely because it will cover most of the portions of Durkheim's works which have significant implications for social sciences. Okay, rules of sociological method, okay, the division of labor in society, and the elementary forms of social, the elementary forms of religious life. Okay. Okay. Now we will start with Emile Durkheim's the rules of sociological method. But before starting this, let me give you a brief prefatory remark that he was a French sociologist. The period of French history which Durkheim's theoretical poses, during which the period of French history during which Durkheim's theoretical position developed resembled the period of Comte's course in positive philosophy in a number of respects. We have already discussed the course in positive philosophy by Auguste Comte, where he discussed his law of 3 stages, okay, namely the theological stage, the metaphysical stage, and the scientific or positivistic stage. For both Comte and Durkheim, contemporary forms of political order were unstable and fragile open to threats from both left and right, okay, from both ideological fronts. Emile Durkheim was a French sociologist who rose to prominence in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Along with Karl Marx and Max Weber, he is credited as one of the principal founders of modern sociology. Chief among his claims is that society is a sui generis, okay, is a sui generis reality, or a reality unique to itself and irreducible to its composing parts. It is created when individual consciences interact and fuse together to create a synthetic reality that is completely new and greater than the sum of its parts. Then the society as an organic whole is much larger than the sum of its limbs or parts. This reality can be understood in sociological terms for Durkheim and cannot be reduced to biological or psychological explanations. The fact that social life has this quality would constitute the foundation of another Durkheim's claims that the human societies could be studied scientifically. For this purpose, Durkheim developed new methodology which focuses on what Durkheim calls social facts. I mean social facts or in other words elements of collective life that exist independently of and are able to exert an influence on an individual. Okay? Using this method of social facts, Durkheim published influential works on a number of topics, namely the division of labor in society, the rules of sociological method, suicide, the elementary forms of religious life and so on. Okay. When Durkheim began writing, sociology was not recognized as an independent field of study. It was not recognized as an independent discipline. As part of the campaign to change this, Durkheim went to great lengths to separate sociology from all other disciplines and especially philosophy. Okay? As a consequence of which, while Durkheim's influence in the social sciences has been extensive, his relationship with philosophy remains ambiguous. Nevertheless, Durkheim maintained that sociology and philosophy are in many ways complementary, going so far as to say that sociology has an advantage over philosophy, since his sociological methods provide the means to study philosophical questions empirically. We have already discussed what is empiricism, that is based on experience rather than metaphysically or theoretically. As a result, Durkheim often used sociology to approach topics that have traditionally been reserved for philosophical investigations. But what persuaded Durkheim to undertake this kind of project was that Durkheim was not the first thinker to attempt to make sociology a science. Auguste Comte, who wished to extend the scientific method to the social sciences in terms of the transition that he made from theological stage to metaphysical stage to positivistic or scientific stage, and Herbert Spencer, who developed an evolutionary utilitarian approach that he applied to different areas in the social sciences, made notable attempts, and their work had a formative influence on Durkheim. Particularly, Durkheim appropriated elements of Comte's positivism as well as elements of his scientific approach to studying societies. Durkheim's analysis of the ways in which different parts of society operate to create a functioning whole, as well as the use of his organic analogy, was in many ways inspired by Spencer's own brand of functionalist analysis. What is functionalism? Functionalism means complementarity and reciprocity of roles in the social division of labor. Okay? There must be mutual cooperation when different roles are performed in society. Okay? Nevertheless, Durkheim was critical of these attempts at sociology and felt that neither Comte nor Spencer had sufficiently divorced their analysis from metaphysical assumptions that we are creations of only nature. Okay. These were to be found particularly in what Durkheim considered Comte and Spencer's unilinear models of social, economic, political and cultural development, which were based on a priori laws of social evolution. What is a priori? That is prior to empiricism, prior to experience. Nothing is a prior in Durkheim's analysis. Okay? For Durkheim, everything is a posteriori, I mean post empiricism, post experience. Okay? While Durkheim incorporated elements of evolutionary theory into his own, he did so in a much critical way and was not interested in developing a grand theory of society as much as developing a perspective, okay, and a method that could be applied in diverse ways. What is a perspective? Now, a perspective refers to a set of symbols which human beings use to select from all potentially observable aspects of nature. When I say nature, it includes both natural as well as social phenomena. A perspective is above all a viewpoint that helps us in selecting, organizing our perceptions and guiding our actions. Okay? In this way, the sociological method, okay, that you tend to see here on the screen, the sociological method thus that Durkheim devised thus sought to be free of metaphysical positivism of Comte and Spencer and differed greatly from Comte's mere extension of the scientific method of the natural sciences to society. Okay? This is very important. Several of Durkheim's teachers in France would also have an important impact on his thinking. With Botrouge, Durkheim read Comte and got the idea that sociology could have its own unique subject matter and thus was not reducible to any other field of study. Eminent historians of the time, namely Monod, Coulanges, okay, introduced Durkheim to systematic, empirical and comparative methods that could be applied to history and the social sciences. Renouvier, a Neo-Kantian philosopher, we'll discuss Neo-Kantianism when we'll discuss Max Weber. Okay. Why I am using Neo-Kantian philosopher? Because they stood against positivism, that Neo-Kantianism suggests that whatever knowledge that we have produced, it is a byproduct of social, political, economic context, cultural context, which is subject to multiple interpretations. Okay. Renouvier, a Neo-Kantian philosopher, also had a large impact on Durkheim. Renouvier was an adamant rationalist and likely played a fundamental role in shaping Durkheim's interpretation of Immanuel Kant. Okay. Kant made a huge contribution to the critique of pure reason, especially Durkheim's understanding of the categories and understanding that some observers have called into question. Okay. Now throughout Durkheim's life, many notable thinkers would have a prominent impact on him, but Durkheim very often has been misunderstood in the annals of social sciences, precisely because most of his students were killed during the First World War. They could not make his case even in a striking manner in the post-First World War. Durkheim's the rules of sociological method, okay, has at least 4 objectives. First, to establish the status of sociology as an autonomous discipline, distinct from its closest relatives, namely biology and psychology. For Durkheim, this demonstration takes the form of establishing the prior existence of of a realm or aspect of reality distinct and autonomous from the orders of reality of which the other sciences constitute knowledge. Okay. It is generally recognized that around this the period of the late 19th century and early 20th centuries, okay, that in Durkheim's life he changed the themes and approaches in his work. Okay. For example, in the division of labor in society, Durkheim focused on how the material and morphological elements of a society affected it, whereas afterwards he began to concentrate on the ideational elements of society with an increasing focus on representations collectives. What are these representations collectives? Namely, morality, religion and social forms and values, social norms and values. Okay. Other philosophers are also prominent in Durkheim's discussion, namely Immanuel Kant, Plato, William James, René Descartes, among others. Okay. According to Durkheim, all elements, I mean basically we are discussing the rules of sociological method now, all elements of society for Durkheim, including morality and religion, are part of the natural world and can be studied scientifically. In particular, Durkheim sees his sociology as the science of institutions, which refer to collective ways of thinking, feeling and acting. A fundamental element of this science is the sociological method, okay, which Durkheim formulated specifically for this purpose. Okay. The foundational claim for Durkheim's sociology and what is to make up the subject matter for sociology is the existence of what Durkheim calls social facts. A social fact, what is a social fact? A social fact, as defined by Durkheim in the rules of sociological method, is a category of facts which present very special characteristics. They consist of manners of acting, thinking and feeling external to the individual, which are invested with a coercive power of virtue of which they exercise control over him. For example, farmer suicides in India is a social fact. Collective suicide. Durkheim was never interested in a particular individual. Durkheim was more interested in the action of the collective, group, majority, collective spirit. Okay. Now, if you ask me, if somebody asks me what is the difference between collective and majority, I would say that collective is a sociological variable, whereas majority is a political variable. Okay. Durkheim was more interested in the collective, not individual as such. Okay. According to Durkheim, social facts have an objective reality and sociologists can study in a similar way to how other scientists, technologists, engineers such as physicists study the physical world. An important corollary to such definition of social facts that it is a category of facts which present very special characteristics. They consist of manners of acting, thinking and feeling external to the individual, which are invested with a coercive power of virtue of which they exercise control over him or her. Okay. And this an important corollary to such definition is that social facts are also internal to individuals, and it is only through individuals that social facts are able to exist. In this sense, externality means interior to individuals other than the individual subject. This leads to the seemingly paradoxical statement that social facts are both external as well as internal to the individual, a claim that has frequently been misunderstood and left Durkheim's work open to criticism. In order to fully grasp how social facts are operated or social facts are created and operate, it must be understood that for Durkheim, a society is not merely a group of individuals living in one particular geographical location. Rather, a society is an ensemble of ideas, beliefs and sentiments of all sorts that are realized through individuals. It indicates a reality that is produced when individuals interact with one another. As a result, what we see, there is a fusion of individual consciences, individual moral values, ethical value systems, and such fusion of individual consciences is a sui generis reality. It implies that the social fact, much as water is the product of the combination of two molecules of hydrogen and one molecule of oxygen, okay, is a wholly new entity with distinct properties, irreducible to its composing parts and unable to be understood by any other means than those proper to it. In other words, society is greater than the sum of its parts. It supersedes in complexity. I mean, the whole sum in totality. It supersedes in complexity, depth and richness the existence of any particular individual. This psychic reality is sometimes referred to by Durkheim with the term conscience collective consciences, okay, in the division of labor in society, which can alternately be translated into English as collective conscience or collective consciousness. When we discussed that the first objective of the rules of sociological method is to establish the status of sociology as an autonomous discipline distinct from its closest relatives, namely biology and psychology, for Durkheim this demonstration takes the form of establishing the prior existence of a realm or aspect of reality distinct and autonomous from the orders of reality of which the other sciences constitute knowledge. I mean one must understand how Durkheim acknowledges the indispensable role of argument by analogy. No argument should be based on the basis of belief. Okay? One must make an argument in terms of analogy with aspects of other sciences, at least in the early phases of development of a new science. Okay? What is more, in the context of the indispensable role of argument by analogy and collective conscience, okay, what is more, society and social phenomena can only be explained in sociological terms as the fusion of individual consciences that once created follows its own laws. Society cannot be explained, for example, in biological or psychological terms. Social facts are key, are important instruments, since they are what constitute and express the psychic reality that is called society. Through social facts, individuals acquire particular traits, particular characteristics, particular features such as a language, a monetary system, values, religious beliefs, tendencies for suicide, technologies that they would never have had living in total isolation. Okay. That is why Durkheim emphasized upon on the fact that how social facts are created and operate. Now, it must be understood that a society is not merely a group of individuals living in any particular geographical location, rather society is an ensemble of ideas, beliefs and sentiments of all sorts that are realized through individuals, and it indicates a reality that is produced when individuals interact with one another, resulting in the fusion of individual consciences. Okay? And this fusion of individual consciences is a sui generis reality. Okay? This is very important. That is why if we isolate ourselves from society, perhaps we will not be able to understand our economy, our culture, our polity and so on. Okay? We must be a part of such economy, such culture, such polity to make sense of society as a part of collective consensus. A third objective in the rules of sociological method, I mean generally we use in sociology, we use in social sciences, we use rules for the rules of sociological method. Shortly it is known as rules. A third objective in the rules of sociological method is the demonstration against a certain of Durkheim's philosophical opponents of both the possibility and the necessity of a specific scientific knowledge of the social order. Okay. How is it going to be there? We will see. And finally, the attempt to construct a conception of the methods and forms of scientific explanation in their application to the new domain. Durkheim identifies different kinds of social facts, with constraint remaining a key feature of each. For example, social facts include a society's legal code, religious belief, concept of beauty, monetary system, ideology, ways of dressing or its language and so on. In these cases, it is easy to see how society imposes itself onto the individual from the outside through the establishment of social norms and values to which conformity is either expected or encouraged. Currents of opinion or social phenomena that express themselves through individual cases are also social facts. Examples include rates of marriage, birth or suicide and so on. Okay. What is the mortality rate among males in India? What is the mortality rate among females in India? What is the mortality rate among the single people, unmarried people in India? What is the mortality rate of the married people in India? Okay. See, empirical research must be carried out to make sense of the data, and Durkheim did that in French society in particular and as a whole in European society. Okay. In such cases, the operation of society on the individual is not so obvious. Nevertheless, these phenomena, these empirical phenomena can be studied with the use of statistics for Durkheim, and which accumulate individual cases into an aggregate, okay, and express a certain state of collective mind. Okay. Now, if I say, you will find that in Indian economy in the last 20 years or 30 years, maybe 30 years, farmers on a collective scale, they are committing suicide. In the last 30 years, 29, 30 years. What may be provided as an explanation? In Punjab, you will find that the government failed to provide minimum support price to its farmers, as a consequence of which farmers en masse committed suicide. In southern part of India, okay, farmers committed suicide not because of a lack of minimum support price, but because of the introduction of Bt seeds, Bacillus thuringiensis seeds. Okay, soil became barren, we tend to lose the fertility of the soil, and as a consequence of which farmers could not produce anything, they could not accumulate anything, they could not sell their, they could not have any production, as a consequence of which they committed suicide. Farmers in different parts of the country, including Northeast India, you would find that farmers are committing suicide because of bad debt. They take loans, they are not able to repay the loans precisely because of the crop failure, because of lack of minimum support price, lack of marketing. There is a lack of viable political economy for farmers. Okay. This must be established through statistics, like in the works of Everyone Loves a Good Drought. Okay. Okay. In this sense, these phenomena, these social facts, can be studied with the use of statistics, which accumulate individual cases into an aggregate and express a certain state of the collective mind. There are also social facts of a morphological or structural order, including the demographic and material conditions of which, such as the number, nature and relationship of the composing parts of a society, their geographical distribution, their means of communication and so forth. While perhaps not as evident, these types of social facts are also influenced by collective ways of thinking, acting and feeling, and have the same characteristics of externality and constraint as the other types. And when we are discussing a third objective in the rules, is the demonstration against certain type of Durkheim's philosophical opponents of both the possibility and the necessity of a specific scientific knowledge of the social order, and finally the attempt to construct a conception of the methods and forms of scientific explanation in their application to the new domain. Durkheim identifies a broad range of social facts, okay, that correspond roughly with his intellectual development. In his early work, Durkheim focused on social morphology. He then wrote a book on suicide, okay, how the rates of suicide suicide rates, how the rates of suicide are higher in certain groups of population, not or less in certain other groups of population. Okay. While his late work concentrate on social norms and values, especially in morality and religion, the work and the like of the elementary forms of religious life, as Durkheim's interest shifted, his notion of coercion also changed, as did his use of the word constraint. In his earlier work, constraint has more of a repressive or obligatory nature, whereas in his later works he highlights the attracting or devotional aspects of social facts, or how individuals are drawn voluntarily to particular symbols, norms or beliefs. In the later case, society will in the later phase of his life, Durkheim used like this: society still constrains the thoughts and behavior of the individual, but in a radically different way. It is important to point out also is that social facts operate at varying degrees of formality and complexity. Thus, while Durkheim's language at times points to a homogeneous or monolithic understanding of society, the social processes that he describes should be understood as taking place with different degrees of formality and complexity on many different levels of social interaction, and the method that he provides can and should be used to study this diversity of social phenomena. Durkheim provides a set of rules for studying social facts while he lists a number of rules, the most fundamental rules come from chapter 2 of the rules of sociological method. The first and most important rule is to treat social facts as things. Social facts as things. Okay. What Durkheim implies by this is that social facts have an existence independent of the knowing subject, and that they impose themselves on the observer or the researcher. Okay? What we are going to study, that is observed or researched, but we are researchers, observer. Okay? That is why the first and most important rule is to treat social facts as things. What Durkheim means by saying that social facts, what Durkheim means by treating social facts as things, is that social facts have an existence independent of the knowing subject, and that they impose themselves on the observer. Social facts can be recognized by the sign or symbol, and that they register the action of the individual will upon them. As products of the collectivity, changing social facts require strenuous effort. The next rule for studying social facts is that the sociologist or the practitioner of sociology must clearly delimit and define the group of phenomena being researched. This structures the research and provides the object of study a condition of verifiability. In empiricism we have discussed verifiability, in positivism we have discussed verifiability. The sociologist must also strive to be as objective towards the facts that they are working on as possible, and remove any subjective bias or prejudice or attachment to what they are investigating. Similarly, the sociologist must systematically discard any or all preconceptions and closely examine the facts before saying anything about them. Okay. Then when we come to social facts, okay, we will find how social facts and the autonomy of sociology, autonomy of knowledge, autonomy of sociology as a science, okay, Durkheim tried to envisage. Durkheim applied these rules of sociological method, I mean treating social facts as things, then social facts, I mean the sociologist must delimit and define the group of phenomena being researched and so on. Durkheim, and also we are trying to discuss these rules, I mean the object of the rules of sociological method by Durkheim, that Durkheim applies these rules to empirical evidence as he draws primarily from statistics, ethnography and history. Durkheim treats this set of data in a rational way, which is to say that he applies the law of causality to it, cause and effect relationship. At this point, Durkheim introduces an important rationalist component to his sociological method, namely the idea that by using his rules, human behavior can be explained through observable cause and effect relationships. Accordingly, Durkheim often uses a comparative historical approach, okay, within comparative social sciences, okay, comparative historical approach, which he sees as the core of the sociological method, to eliminate extraneous causes and find commonalities between different societies and their social facts. And in doing so, Durkheim strives to find general laws that are universally applicable. Durkheim also argues that social facts can only be understood in relation to other social facts. Social facts cannot be studied in isolation. Okay? Okay? That is why Indian society can be studied, okay? But Indian society can be better studied in relation to other societies. Maybe African societies, maybe Australian society, maybe European societies, maybe American societies, maybe Japanese society, maybe Chinese society, right? Okay? That comparative historical approach must be there. Okay? That is why Durkheim argues that social facts can only be understood in relation to other social facts. As an example, Durkheim explains suicide rates not in reference to psychological factors, but rather to different social institutions and the way they integrate and regulate individuals within a group. Durkheim also follows the historical development of political, education or religious, economic and moral institutions, particularly those of Western society, and makes a strict difference between historical analysis and sociology. Whereas the historical method strives only to describe what happened in the past, sociology strives to explain the past, decide the present, not only explain the past, review the past, but also decide the present and plan the future. In other words, sociology searches for the causes and functions of social facts as they change over time. In this sense, there must be, sociology must, there is a difference between historical analysis and sociological analysis, and hence it calls for the autonomy of sociology as a discipline, as formation of knowledge acquisition activity. First, the concept of social facts is used to demarcate a class of facts having its homogeneity, to demarcate a particular class of facts having its homogeneity and distinctive characteristics in relation to other classes of facts in the order of nature. The contrast here then is between social facts on the one hand and biological and psychological facts specifically on the other. Psychological and social facts together are distinguished from biological facts in that they consist of representations, whereas biological facts do not. Representations, collectives. By representations, okay, Durkheim refers at least to the symbolic, normative and generally mental or spiritual nature of the subject matter of both sociology and psychology. Symbolic, symbols mean, by symbols I mean those, they must represent certain things. Normative, what should be, what ought to be prescriptive in nature, and generally mental or spiritual nature of the subject matter of both sociology and psychology. This leaves the question of how to distinguish the orders of reality dealt with respectively by these disciplines. In one case, Durkheim argues the phenomena are facts, the phenomena or social facts are collective, and in the other they are individual representations. When it is collective, it is very much sociological in nature. When it is individual representation, it is very much psychological in nature. Okay? It should be noted that the identification of a distinct order of social phenomena as a product of organization has several implications. The proposed science of sociology has its raison d'etre, distinct field of reality waits to be known. Okay? The relevance of analogies, that argument through analogy, the relevance of analogies with the methods of investigation and forms of explanation proper to biology, especially physiology, is established. The phenomena of both fields are effects of organization, and the science of sociology will have its own disciplinary autonomy, a consequence of the autonomous laws and distinctive properties of the order of phenomena which it studies, and a corollary of this, the methodological individualist doctrine. We'll discuss methodological individualism in Weber, that as I said earlier that Durkheim was never interested in individual things, rather collective enterprise. Okay. He tried to study sociology as a part of collective conscience, okay, not individual enterprise. Okay. That all ultimate explanation in the human sciences must be in the terms of that individual methodological individualist doctrine must of all individuals must be rejected. Maybe ultimate explanation in the human sciences must be in terms of the characteristics, if you say actions, intentions, wills, etc. of individuals must be rejected, of collective must be accepted for Durkheim. For Durkheim, the autonomy of sociology is absolute. Okay. In the rules of sociological method itself, Durkheim speaks of the identification of classes of phenomena by their common external characteristics and thus presupposing their possession of internal characteristics inaccessible to perception. But more importantly, Durkheim's substantive works frequently make use of perceptible and measurable phenomena as measurable, calculable phenomena as indicators of deeper and less accessible realities. In the division of labor in society, for instance, Durkheim concedes that social solidarity is an intangible phenomenon which does not lend itself to observation. But this does not imply that it cannot be scientifically studied. Durkheim adopts realist forms of explanation and even recognizes this in places when he reflects on his own research practice. Okay. Mechanical solidarity. What is solidarity? For Durkheim, solidarity means assemblage of people in the performance of rituals, collective. Okay. Mechanical solidarity is not then an observable phenomenon which can be correlated and therefore shown to be causally related with repressive law. Rather, it is an underlying reality which generates repressive law along with other perceptible phenomena as an effect. To this extent, Durkheim's conception of scientific knowledge breaks away from positivism. Then when you look at this, that there are solidarity that Durkheim used, solidarity as an assemblage of people in the performance of rituals. Okay, those rituals may be religious rituals, may be economic rituals, may be political rituals, may be cultural rituals and so on. Okay. And he divided solidarity into two parts, mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. Okay. Now, how to look at social facts and the necessity of science? Okay. The so-called definition of social facts, okay, facts consists of principally in the premises of illustrative material drawn from social life and the attempt to demonstrate that in each case the phenomena selected satisfy certain criteria. These criteria turn out to be quite general criteria for the status of reality or existence, which in turn is conceptually connected for Durkheim with being a fit object for scientific knowledge and no other type of knowledge. The appearance that Durkheim achieves both tasks by the application of these criteria derives from the ambiguous status of the notion of the individual subject in the rules of sociological method. Of the many functions of this term, two are most relevant to the present argument. One is individual consciousness, which must be both internal as well as external. Durkheim thinks of individual consciousness as constituting the order of reality to which individual psychology addresses itself, and Durkheim uses the notion of individual consciousness in the sense of knowing subject when establishing the very concept of facticity or thinghood. Social facts are things. He treats Durkheim treats social facts as things. That's why that facticity or thinghood What is precisely a thing? There are two distinctions at work in the rules of sociological method between that which is internal to individual consciousness and that which is external or independent. In this epistemological distinction, the ideas of the knowing subject are contrasted with the things which lie outside the mind and are to be known. A social fact, social facts are to be recognized by their externality or by the power of external coercion which it exercises or is capable of exercising over individuals. And the presence of this power may be recognized in its turn either by the existence of specific sanction or by a resistance offered against every individual effort that tends to violate it. Social facts are to be recognized by their externality to the individual subject and by their coercive power. This is important. Okay? Okay. Then what have we discussed in this lecture? That we started with Durkheim's object of the rules of sociological method. There are four objects of the rules of sociological method to establish the status of sociology as an autonomous discipline, indispensable role of argument by analogy, then the demonstration against certain of Durkheim's philosophical opponents of both the possibility and the necessity of a specific scientific knowledge of the social order, and finally to construct a conception of the methods and forms of scientific explanation in their application to the new domain. Okay? Then we have discussed how Durkheim, we have discussed in detail Durkheim's sociological method. Then we have discussed social facts and the autonomy of sociology as a science, autonomy of knowledge, and social facts and the necessity of science. And in the next lecture, what we are going to discuss? We are going to discuss Durkheim's reflections on common sense and science, okay? And then we'll discuss within comparative social sciences how Durkheim tries to look at social realism, sociology of knowledge, and so on. Okay? Thank you.